welcome to Gray Street, where I am telling you part 2 of my testimony, getting to Gray Street. How did I become a follower of Jesus Christ? In part 1, I left off with telling you that I had read this book, More Than a Carpenter, and had read the poem, or the prayer, out of the last page in the book. And I loved it because it was simple and short. It's like 5 sentences. Nice and simple and to the point. I liked it. As soon as I read the poem, nothing happened. The heavens didn't open. God didn't come down and say, "You are now my child." None of that crap happened, okay? Everything was still the same. The earth didn't move. There was no earthquake, nothing. However, I will say this. I felt different. And I know that's stupid and who cares? It doesn't make a difference. But I felt different. I felt lighter. Like there were burdens and things that had come off of my shoulders. And that day, on February 24th, 2001, I decided, what do I want to do? Now that I'm thinking about this Jesus, and can this Jesus that everybody talks about really save everything? Can he really be my Savior, and what does that mean? I start thinking about it, and I decide, I want to read the Bible. Huh? Yeah. Never wanted to read the Bible in my life, except for when I was a kid. I grew up Catholic, and I tried to read the Bible, and it did not make sense. I swear I was like reading Chinese, like somebody doing sign language, and you'd be like, yeah, I have no idea. That's what it was like when I tried to read the Bible when I was a kid. Hadn't tried to read it since then. But for some reason, the day I was saved, I picked it up, and I wanted to read a Bible. So I go to my coffee table, and underneath my coffee table, everybody has this little spot under your coffee table. We had a big, giant Bible. It's like decorative. It's white, and it's got all this stuff all over it. And it's the one that you get when you're Catholic for like your confirmation. It's like a $100 Bible. This thing's huge, and the pages are enormous. Everybody that's Catholic has one of these in their house. It's probably in the same place, underneath your coffee table. Okay, that's where it was. We had never opened it. It was my boyfriend's who I lived with at the time. I pull it out because I don't have another Bible. Okay, and this is before smartphones, 2001. Okay, so I open up this giant Bible, which, by the way, I think we had used previously to roll joints on. Anyway, so I open up this big giant Bible, and I open up to any page, and the first thing that I read is Matthew 5:8, and it says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." And I said, that's it. That's what I want. I want to see God, not just when I die and go to heaven, but I want to see God in the world, in life, in myself. I want to know God. I want to find him. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to do this. All right, I'm testing out this whole Jesus thing. You know, I just said the prayer. I'm trying to test out the whole Jesus thing. All right, Jesus, speak to me. Tell me what it means. What does it mean to follow you? All right, now you would think, right? I'm going to call my brother. Thanks for the book. I'm a follower of Jesus now. No. I call my brother and I say, thanks for the book. I will consider Jesus. Yes. I did not tell him I had already said the prayer. I was too proud. I didn't want to change. I thought, what if I change my mind? What if I wake up tomorrow and I think this is a bunch of baloney? So I was sort of like cautious about it, and I didn't tell him anything. All right, so I'm keeping this to myself. My brother's like, no way, you're like really, you're willing to listen and talk about Jesus, and you're willing to have conversations with me and go to church with me maybe? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, oh, what? Okay, let me pray for you. Can I pray for you right here on the phone? And I'm like, okay, this is weird, but cool, I guess. So he's praying for me on the phone, and I'm feeling really awkward about this at first, but suddenly, by the end of the prayer, and it's real short, but by the time he finishes praying, I'm bawling my eyes out. Now, I'm not going to let anybody know that I cry, because I don't cry in front of people. It's got to be real bad, or I'm crying about Jesus. That's it. But anyway, I don't cry, and I didn't at that time ever cry in front of people, so I could not let my brother hear I was crying. So I sort of choke it back, and I'm real quiet, and I say, yes, I will try out Jesus. And he's like, all right, cool. Tell you what, will you go to church with me the next few weeks? And I'm like, sure. So I start going to church with my brother, who lived, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes from me. So I had to take a drive. I still did it anyway. So I'm driving down there, like hanging out, going to church, listening to sermons. I'm going to his small group where he has all these other people who are Christians, and they pray out loud. That was weird. I ain't gonna lie. That was weird, I'm not gonna lie. These people are praying out loud and stuff. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. So I try to get into it, you know. I'm not really saying much. I'm sort of sitting back. I go to church a lot. I'm hanging out kind of generally wherever Jesus is involved. They're doing little events and doing little stuff, and I'm just sort of hanging out, watching it, and doing all that. I'm praying every day, too, before I go to work. I'm in the shower, like, praying, talking to God in my head. And things just start changing. Now, at this time, I'm not going to lie to you, I was still doing drugs on a regular basis. I thought I could do both. I was hoping. So, I'm still doing drugs. Guess what? For some reason, out of nowhere, bam, the whole town goes dry. The city of Bloomington, Indiana, if you know anything about this, goes dry. It's unheard of. It doesn't happen. There's always drugs there. Always. We couldn't find it. We have people in Indy. We had friends. We had dealers in Indy. They're all dry. We're like, what's going on? Why can't we get drugs? And I realize I'm thinking more clearly. I'm able to pray more easily. I'm reading the Bible. It's making sense. I notice that my boyfriend is freaking out, has headaches and symptoms, and he's withdrawn like a crack addict. And I'm like, whoa, this is not cool. But I'm cool. I'm fine. Now, at this point in time, I decide that I'm going to pray before my classes, because I told you I was a teacher. It was my first year teaching. And before I go into one of my classes, and I'm not going to lie to you, I did not have any classroom discipline at that point. So my classes were crazy. They were nuts. I was the classroom that the teacher next door comes over and is knocking on the door. Are they okay? Do you need me to go get the assistant principal? And I'm too busy laughing on the floor with the rest of them. It was crazy. It was a madhouse. And so one day I walk into this classroom and I'm thinking, okay, Jesus, I need you to help me. These kids are crazy. I need to teach them. I'm going to go in here and they better be quiet. Come on, God, you can do. Pull through. Come on, God, you can do this. I walk into the room. The kids are silent. On a Friday, when the weather is 78, 80 degrees. It was a miracle. If you're a teacher, you know. The kids were crazy. They were quiet out of nowhere just because I prayed. And I thought, this is interesting. Now, this whole time, this is going on for about a month and a half, 2 months. This whole time, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm sure you have. But out all around the world, people have that stupid little fish symbol that you see everywhere, and that's supposed to stand for Jesus. And I'm like, what the hell is that? What's that? And I see it everywhere. And I just think of it as Jesus, and I'm kind of waving at it in my mind. Oh, hi, Jesus. Yeah, I know you a little bit now. We're sort of cool, maybe, you know. So I'm kind of waving at it instead of it making me angry like it used to, because I'd be like, that fish is stupid. It's kind of making me like, oh, I'm interested, you know, and I'm kind of waving at it. I have no idea what it means. This is before the internet was super popular. All right, so I can't Google it. I'm too proud to ask my brother. I'm ashamed, I'm like scared to ask anybody what it means because I don't want anybody to know I'm this interested in like Jesus stuff. So still a lot of pride going on. So I start thinking, and I'm thinking about it all the time, and it's bugging me. I'm always thinking about this stinking fish symbol. What does it mean? Where does it come from? Why does it mean Jesus? So I'm as I told you, hanging out with my brother at one of his church functions. They are gathering blankets for families in the Sudan at that time and packing them up, and they're going to send them over. They do all of this, and we're standing there, and I'm helping. Now, we're at the church, and we're standing around the boxes, and they say, we're going to hold hands and pray over these boxes. So I said, all right, cool. So I stand with them. I pray with them. As I've been praying, I just never prayed out loud. He's praying out loud, and as he prays, and all of a sudden, he starts talking about how Christians in the old days, way, way back, they used to have to, they were afraid that they would get persecuted or killed. So what they used to do is they would walk up to each other. He's saying this during the prayer. He's explaining this. They used to walk up to the other person. So they were afraid. They couldn't just tell people they were Christians. So they'd walk up to somebody, a stranger, and they would make an arc in the sand with their foot like this. And then if the other person they were talking to also was a Christian, they wouldn't have to say it out loud. The other person would make an arc in the sand as well, and it makes the fish symbol. So early Christians used it as a symbol, as a way to talk to each other and communicate that they were Christians. Now, this prayer's over. I open my eyes and I look at the pastor and I say, why did you explain that about the fish symbol? Which, by the way, I was literally thinking about the moment before he tells the story. And he looks at me and says, I have no idea why I explained it. I just did. And that right there was the moment that I knew God was real. God, everything that God had said was true. God was a real person, that God knew everything I was thinking, that God could feel everything I was feeling. God could answer questions I hadn't even asked. And that's when I knew God was real and that Jesus was the only way to that God, because I tested him out. I talked to my brother about it, and I was baptized about a week and a half after that on April 8th, 2001. Now, you're thinking to yourself. And that's when everything changed. I changed my lifestyle. Everything changed after that. Now, here's the question you want to ask yourself. Why would God bother to save a sinner like me? I didn't deserve it. I was a piece of crap. I didn't know, just because I come and ask. Here's why. There's a book by an old monk about 300-400 years ago, a monk named Brother Lawrence, and he said, God often chooses those who have been the greatest sinners to receive his greatest grace, because this can reveal his goodness more dramatically. And I want you to think about this. God, if you were the God of the universe, you know you'd be showing out, look what I can do. I can take somebody who doesn't believe in me at all, who hates me, who doesn't want to have anything to do with me, who's too proud to even ask a question about me and won't tell anybody. I can take this person and make her a Jesus freak. Boom. And that's the end of the story. And that's how I became one of those Jesus freaks like everybody else. You'll see in future videos, though, I don't exactly act exactly the same or talk the same as him, but you'll see that. But anyway, that is my story. So that's part 2. This is how I became a follower of Jesus. And thanks for visiting Grace Street. Deuces.
Let's take a trip. Have you ever read The World Is Yours?